I'm ready. Got to get our background okay. Don't want to see a bunch of gear.
See that?
We got a handful of people here. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Rachel, how are you?
Doing well.
Good. Rachel's good. Everybody's good.
Tell you what.
True. So you just got you're refreshed. You look refreshed.
Yeah.
That's
Had a good week.
Had a good week. So what are you grateful for today?
That's a good one. I didn't expect you to ask me that today. Even though you ask it every time. So I would say I'm grateful for, when you're, I heard someone say, when you're a parent, you're only as happy as your least happy kid. And so all my kids are pretty happy this week, so I'm grateful for that.
You're only as happy as your least happy kid. I like that. So if you got a lot of kids, you're just...
A lot of kids. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough.
Somebody's always got an issue.
That's funny. So there was a quote, and I had it on the screen, but it went. I'm not sure where it went, but it was a quote about mastery, and if I can find it here, I'll tell you what. I'm not going to worry about the quote, but I'm going to read this. This is something that if you've been a ninja, you've read a lot, but I'm going to read this, and it says. This is a writing by Stuart Emery, and it says, mastery in one's career and consciousness growth simply requires that we constantly produce results beyond and out of the ordinary. Mastery is a product of consistently going beyond our limits. For most people, it starts with technical excellence in a chosen field and a commitment to that excellence. If you are willing to commit yourself to that excellence, to surround yourself with things that represent this and miracles, your life will change. When we speak of miracles, we speak of events or experiences in the real world which are beyond the ordinary. It's remarkable how much mediocrity we live with, surrounding ourselves with daily reminders that the average is acceptable. Our world suffers from terminal normality. Take a moment to assess all the things around you that promote your being average. These are the things that keep you powerless to go beyond a limit that you arbitrarily set for yourself. The first step to mastery is removal of everything in your environment that represents mediocrity. Removing those things that are limiting. One way is to surround yourself with friends who ask more of you than you do. Didn't some of your best teachers, coaches, parents, etc. do that? Another step on the path of mastery is the removal of resentment toward masters. Develop compassion for yourself so that you can be in the presence of masters and grow from the experience. Rather than comparing yourself and resenting people who have mastery, remain open and let the experience be like the planting of a seed within you that with nourishment will grow into your own individual mastery. You see, we are all ordinary, but a master, rather than condemning himself for his ordinariness, will embrace it and use it as a foundation for building the extraordinary. Rather than using it as an excuse for inactivity, he will use it, which is essential in the process of attaining mastery. You must be able to correct yourself without invalidating or condemning yourself, to accept results and improve upon them. Correct, don't protect. Correction is essential to power and mastery. Anything jump out at you with that?
I like that last paragraph in particular, just realizing that in a lot of ways we're all ordinary, and don't let that either striving and continuing to improve, but also don't condemn yourself over it.
Right. So we're coming up to the end of the year. People had goals for this year. We got a few curveballs thrown our way. So some people have exceeded their goals. Some people they got hit pretty hard. Yeah. And I think this is a time where I see some agents really beat themselves up over not achieving what they thought they could. But I think you got to look back and say, look, this is what I did. This is what I had to deal with, where it says, be able to correct yourself without invalidating or condemning yourself. Correction is just taking an honest look at where things went well, where things could have been better, and then if you think through that and you work through that, then you can actually get better. Yeah. It's like going to a basketball practice. You don't just show up for the game. Right. And so you got to figure out, all right, what did you do? How'd you mess up in that last game, Hunter? Right. What are you going to do better? Well, I got to work on my free throws. Or I got to work on my layups, right? So it's figuring out where you can improve. It's just is I think a key piece. And I think as an industry, we don't take enough time to do that. So I would challenge you all to take a good look at yourself. Don't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
What's that?
Like it.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
So we had some gratitudes. What are y'all grateful for? Anything else?
Beautiful fall colors.
Man, isn't it insane? This is like the best fall that we have had in a few years. The last couple of years it was super dry. I felt like the leaves went from green to brown, and then a rain came and they were just gone. But this has been incredible. My kids went swimming in my
your lead.
in my cow trough over the weekend. So it's pretty fun.
I forgot you did the cow trough.
I got a cow trough. The cool term is the stock tank pool.
Stock tank pool.
It's a cow trough filled with water with some chlorine. So I said this last week, but just one more shout out to Colin. Congratulations for doing a great job. Thank you all for voting. We had a lot of village agents vote for her to elected her to the Greater Nashville Realtors Board of Directors.
It's the election we really care about around here.
That is the election we care about. That's awesome. So it was good. Some upcoming education events. Oh, wow, I have no idea. So I've not seen this. Once again, I think Teddy sends these to me a little bit before the meeting, just so
You can't edit them.
I never have any idea. So we'll see what this looks like here.
Good morning, Village. It's Teddy Pins, and I've got my sudsiness and shower cap on. Yeah, it's a makeshift. Because I am inviting you to contribute any leftover coats, gloves, things that you could possibly contribute. I'm going to be volunteering down under the Jefferson Street Bridge today at 4:30 with Shower Up to provide showers to the homeless. They do that many times a week around Nashville. It's an awesome program. So if you want to donate something, I will do a pickup at Village at 4 o'clock. So have things at the 21st Avenue office by 4 o'clock. And the same thing, I'll do a pickup in East Nashville at 4. So I'll have another person help me with that. All right, education for the week. Due to some scheduling conflicts with instructors, we are moving our Builder Investor Developer class that was today. That is going to be December 1st. But we got some hot ones for this week. Of course, Wednesday we have Thrive. Thursday, Pricing Pros. What are we still doing with that? Pricing Pros on Thursday at 9 to 9:30, so join us for that. Thursday, I've been talking about it. You better be there and register for our Appliance Expert class. 2 hours of free CE. That is going to be Thursday from 1 to 3. It's been emailed out to register, and it's also in the announcements on the Facebook page. And then next Tuesday, I think after the sales meeting, we've got Headshot Day. And then next Thursday, a little preview is Tech in the Field with Lee Fun and Nick Irwin. So outside education opportunities. So it's an amazing one Thursday from 9 to 10, 1 hour of free CE series from Jesse Scarlotta on getting on promo. So I would highly check that out. It's a great one, tools to get noticed. So take that look. And my tech tip for the week is do not update your phone to iOS 14 yet. It is buggy. It has created hell for my life for the last week or so. So I do not recommend that. Oh, and you want one better than that? Get a selfie stick, throw it in the car, or better yet, a gimbal to do your home tours. They look sharp. It's a much more pro way to go. Anyhow, Teddy Pins, make your donations if you'd like today by 4 o'clock at both in-town Village offices, and we'll pick that up and give those to those in need down at Shower Up today at 4:30. And if you want to join me, I'll be there. Have a great one this week, Villagers.
That's awesome. Thanks, Teddy.
Dude, I love that.
That was good. Yeah, that's really
Guy.
cool.
Awesome.
Full of energy. I love it. So yeah, there's scheduling conflict. There's a funeral today that came up. One of the instructors of the class today, so we had to do a switcheroo. Obviously, nobody likes last-minute changes, but we'll still do the new developer and like how to work with developers class later in about a month or so. But Hunter, you got some stuff. What do you have for us?
Been a big week, news-wise.
What happened?
So, might as well start off with a little politics. And remember, Zach, we're not talking about it from like a partisan perspective. We've got lots of great, fun agents who voted for both candidates or either candidate. So, but we do want to approach what's going on in the political realm, know what's going on just in general, how it may affect the economy, how it may affect real estate. So, diving right in, Joe Biden was the winner of a very close election. He and Kamala Harris, make sure you pronounce that right.
I did. I got it.
Kamala Harris, first woman vice president, first black vice president, first Indian, Asian, South Asian American vice president. So as a girl dad, you got girls.
I know. And
Pretty
first, I guess,
exciting.
first biracial vice president.
First biracial vice
So-
president. So that's pretty cool. It was like I said, it was a super close election. Next slide shows just how close it was in many of these battleground states. Of the 11 closest states, it looks like Biden is going to win 6 of them for sure, and it leads in 2 more. And then he also, assuming Georgia and Arizona go for Biden, he'll win the top 4 closest states. So that's kind of how it all hedged out. The other storyline that's kind of emerging from this election that I think is new and people didn't quite expect is that there's kind of a new South emerging with Texas, Georgia joining North Carolina as these close battleground states. North Carolina's been a battleground state for a while, but Georgia has not been the case until this round. Same with Texas. So that's kind of an interesting storyline to watch. As you can see here, for some of the uncalled states, Biden's a pretty clear favorite odds-wise to win. Has a 92% chance in Pennsylvania, 87.6 in Georgia, and in Arizona, about a 77% chance to win. So, interestingly, as we went to bed Tuesday night, the results were coming in. The odds were 87 to 88% that Trump was going to win the election. Like, we've been following that. So Vegas odds, I mean, it's just kind of the way things were turning and the leads he had in a lot of states. And then by the time you woke up Wednesday morning, those had flipped back to Biden. So
I didn't watch the news.
Tune it out. Yeah.
I glanced at it for a second and I'm like, I'm not going to know for several days. So I'm not going to get caught up in the drama, which is
So I
actually
think-
super relaxing.
I think in terms of like if you're following it closely and I think from today there'll be a lot of noise about recounts and voter fraud and I really don't expect any like change in who's going to win the election over that.
Yeah, I was hearing that there's, I'm no expert on this. It seems like, surely there is, in any election, a duplicate vote or something like that, or voter fraud or whatever, but probably on both sides in any election. But from the little research I've done, it seems like that's never, even with recounts, that's never changed. It's very rare that will shift an election unless it's like hundreds of votes.
Yeah.
Recounts.
So I think it does. I would assume that that's the case. So Biden leads in the popular vote. It's kind of interesting. I thought we'd spend a little time just real quick. He leads in the popular vote about 76 million to 71 million. So it's a 5 million vote gap there. But we don't elect the president with the popular vote. You hear about the Electoral College, and so I thought it would be important just to kind of review, like, what is the Electoral College? How did it come about? What does it mean? And what 270, like that's the magic number that Biden or the winner had to get to. You kept hearing about that. So the way you get to the 270 is you take the number of House of Representatives, which is 435.
Right?
You add in the 100 senators. Each state gets 2 senators.
535.
So you're at 535, and then we're going to sprinkle in 3 for the Washington, D.C. So that's how you get to the 538, right? And then to have a majority of the 538, you need 270.
There you go.
269, you'd have a tie, and the House of Representatives would then decide the tie. So if it worked out to where both candidates had 269, it would go to the House. So kind of an interesting thing. You can see from Tennessee, we've got 9 House representatives plus our two senators, so that gives us 11 electoral votes. Interestingly, the minimum number you could have is 3, right? You get at least 1 U.S. representative plus your 2 senators, so that's 3. This was all done in the Constitution. So Article 2 lays out how we elect the president. It's really one of the most complicated systems in the world. So,
it is.
So
and then you have some states that are broken up by district. like Maine and
Maine and Nebraska, split their votes. Yeah. So not to get too mathematical this early in the morning, but if you look at a voter in Wyoming, so you basically have one electoral vote for every 193,000 residents of the state. So
Right.
they've got 3. And California, you have one electoral vote for every 718,000 people in the state. So basically, each electoral vote in California represents over 3 times as many people than in Wyoming. So you've got that replicated all over the country, and it kind of gives you.
So your vote could, in theory, have more weight in certain states than others.
Yeah, and if you're in a state that's predominantly one party, your vote really doesn't count as much as if you're in a battleground state. So these battleground states end up getting a lot of attention. You're getting a lot more pushback, particularly we've had 2 presidents haven't been elected over the last 20 years who didn't win the popular vote, but they won the electoral college. And so you're starting to hear more about, why are we doing it this way? Should we? So first of all, to reverse it, it will take a constitutional amendment, just because this is how it's set up in the Constitution. But what were the reasons and kind of why was it set up this way? And I guess it goes back to the original framers of the Constitution. We're trying to create the United States, right? But states' rights and states had their own identity, and there's a lot of worry about big states versus small states having too much power, and there was you had rural states versus more urban states, and you had all these. North versus South, slave versus free, all of that was going on. And so you just had to make, the original founding fathers had to make compromises all over the place to kind of keep this collection of states together and become the United States. And so this was one of the ways they could do it. And then interestingly, the original founding fathers, they also had a little bit, I think, fear around giving people too much control or too much of a vote. They wanted to kind of control everything. They felt like the crowd could be easily swayed short term, and so they wanted ways to slow it down a little bit. And so interestingly, until 1913, we didn't even elect our own senators for the states. Those were appointed by the state representatives, and so those were kind of like ambassadors for the state, and there wasn't a ton of power. The only thing that you could vote on federally was the House of Representatives.
Yes, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Political
So
science
anyway,
major here.
thought that was kind of interesting background information, and something we could at least understand a little bit. But these results they had something for everyone. Democrats won the White House. But it wasn't the blue wave that a lot of people were expecting. Republicans gained seats in the House, and then also it appears they're going to hold on to control of the Senate. There's 2 runoffs in Georgia, which will likely decide that in January. And so basically from that background, we have kind of the markets.
Yeah.
And what was their reaction to this?
Markets from talking to people in the financial world, it sounds like markets like the idea of a Biden presidency and a Republican-controlled House creates a lot of stability for markets in terms of just kind of knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
Market flexibility.
So the market's up about 8% since election day, the Dow was, and so. And then yesterday, it was up another 3%, and I think that was more driven by, there's some really good vaccine news from Pfizer, and so it looks like they'll be ready to launch that by the end of this month. So it was kind of interesting yesterday, the stocks that were all down were like Netflix, Peloton, Amazon, all the ones that are basically stay home and don't do anything, those were all down, and then your normal economy stocks were up, so I thought that was kind of fun.
That's interesting. And car manufacturers are doing insanely well.
Yeah.
Like not even pandemic insanely good, but apparently really.
So remember, the market is why we're interested in the market, not just to worry about our own portfolios, but it's looking ahead 12 to 18 months, right? which affects the real estate market. So if the economy, the stock market's kind of a barometer for what, how the economic outlook is 12 to 18 months away. So it's just kind of worth, and clearly they're saying, even though we're in this pandemic still, even though we've got a lot of more unemployment than we did a year ago, the market's feeling like it's going to come back. Car companies, those are big purchases for people. People don't make those in economic downturns as much. So all of that points to really good news for our economy and our industry. So just thought it was since Biden was elected, looking at what he ran on in terms of his platform. Basically, he promised he wanted tax hikes on those making more than $400,000 from modestly from 37 to 39.6. He also said he'd add payroll taxes on the highest bracket and scrap breaks for capital gains and dividends. And then also on the next slide, companies will pay more. So he said he wanted to increase the corporate tax rates, as the taxes that companies pay, from 21% to 28%. And then finally, the government is planning on spending more. His platform included $2 trillion earmarked to jumpstart clean energy, $1.5 trillion for healthcare, and then also a stimulus package for the coronavirus that would include another round of direct payments for Americans. That's kind of his platform that he ran on. Interestingly, if the GOP does keep the Senate, that could prove a roadblock to a lot of these policies. I think the bottom line is, without support from the Senate, some of these would face an uphill battle. I think that's why the knee-jerk reaction for the market was like, all right, fine, we'll just, things are going well, and I think the market prefers to not see some radical changes. But you know what that building is, Zach?
It looks like the Tennessee State Capitol.
It's not the Tennessee State Capitol. It is the
courthouse. Sorry,
Federal Reserve Building.
Yeah, that's what it says right up there. It says Federal Reserve.
Federal Reserve. You're close. So they met, and that's even more important. So remember, the Fed handles monetary policy, manipulating the money supply, shaping macroeconomic conditions. The government is what does the fiscal and spending budget policy. So this is like where the rubber meets the road, keeping money flowing in the economy. And so they met a little over a week ago and said, hey, we're keeping interest rates near zero for banks and the economy to basically keep money flowing. We're going to keep quantitative easing, which is a fancy way of saying we're going to put around 120 billion per month in circulation just to kind of keep the economy flowing, and then we're going to target kind of a 2% inflation rate. They came out with all of that. The market really felt good about that, and so that's something to keep an eye on. Like, a tightening Fed is kind of hard. It's kind of slowing everything down, but apparently we've got a Federal Reserve that knows the risks that are out there in the economy and want to keep things flowing. So it's really good news for things like mortgage rates and our industry, that thrives on money being flowing in the economy. Some more good news. Just last week, we saw that October, you normally see things really start to fall off in October, in the fall. And for the first time, we saw that October was even stronger than September. And then nationally, we saw that prices went up. The median price went up about 12%, which that was big nationally for October. And then finally, you saw inventory. Remember, that's what we're fighting against. There's just not enough supply in the market. It's what's helping push prices higher. And Nashville, of the 50 largest metropolitan cities, Nashville had the lowest or the highest year-over-year decline in inventory year-over-year. So we're even really feeling the pinch. It's a reason to encourage your clients, if they're on the fence about selling the house.
This is really where we come in.
Now's a great time. If you got buyers that are trying to go it alone out there and get a house under contract, they need an expert to help them So just be aware of your value in the market, particularly when you've got a tight situation like this. Right?
That's right.
Zach, look at that truck.
It's kind of, what is that? Is that an electric
That
vehicle?
is the electric Hummer.
There's
The
an
new-
electric Hummer?
Yes.
That seems like an oxymoron.
It does, doesn't it? GM announced it a couple of weeks ago.
Good for
Can't you
GM.
see like Beth Vincent in that thing, just crushing it out in the camping and like catching fish using that thing? Anyway, I don't know why I thought of Beth Vincent, but I'm gonna get one.
Don't
of
go
those.
in reverse on that. That
So the good news about that is, Zach, it's going to be built right here, right outside Nashville. in the
Really?
Spring Hill, Spring Hill plant. This
That's great.
The state offered about $35 million in a training grant to help get GM employees trained, and in exchange, they're going to build a $2 billion factory, redo the one that's in the Saturn plant in Smyrna. No, Spring Hill.
Spring Hill.
And so really big news, that's pretty exciting for Middle Tennessee to have some electric vehicles going. And then just to reiterate, remember this is now our second year in this this real estate survey of the best areas to be located. Nashville was ranked number 3 for the second year in a row. Really important. We're in a thriving market, great place to be. There's opportunity everywhere in Nashville, and so ULI came out with this. I just thought it was worth being aware of and letting your clients know, like, hey, this is a great place. We got population growth, got a lot of good things going. Obviously, that announcement from GM is big for the manufacturing base here. So,
But it also creates some. I mean, I've talked to people who grew up here, and they're. And this is a typical story, but they're like, gosh, I mean, $1 million for a house or $500,000 for a house or whatever price range they're in. And like, how do people get that? And so we do have people coming in from other markets who they're, more expensive markets. And so Nashville looks like a better deal to them. And so that's, that combined with the supply, limited supply. So, I mean, really, and I'm going to talk about kind of ways that we can get some more listings. But that's really, I think, the best thing that we can do is create business, not just wait for somebody to call, but reach out and talk to your people about this, talk to your clients about this, talk to your sphere. Say, look, if you're thinking about selling, this is a great opportunity to take advantage of this now. You got low interest rates, short supply. We're still having a pretty robust fall and into the early winter. Usually things slow down right about now, but we're still kind of cranking along. So,
a lot of good news, but just to stay humble, we are still Tennessee, right? And so you've got my friend from Indianapolis. We have a
Joey.
back and forth about which state's better, Indiana or Tennessee, and so he sent me this. Our state senator, Joey Hensley. This article is loaded with some good stuff. So he's an attorney. He's a doctor in a small town and was prescribing opioids to family members and an employee who he was having a romantic relationship with. None of those are good things and violate, the oaths that doctor takes. But his attorney was defending him in court, and so that's where a lot of the fun information came out. And he said in a hearing that that his client, it was well-intended, harmless, and all but unavoidable for Hensley to prescribe to relatives in this small Tennessee town. There are not many people in the county who haven't been to see Dr. Hensley. Half the county are Hensleys. Everyone there knows everyone, and there are multiple relationships, and that was only one of the types of relationships. And here's the kicker: the nurse with whom Hensley was having the romantic relationship and prescribing opioids was also his second cousin. So, still Tennessee, guys.
Let's go back to this slide.
Yeah.
What a great looking slide. Look at that uptick. I mean, can you imagine?
Just
All right,
gotta stay humble. Stay humble.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Hunter. That was exciting. So speaking of rates, so rates did tick up a little bit. So we were at 2.625% last week. We're at 2.75%. I know that's, pretty dramatic, right? Obviously, that's a joke. We're still under 3% for a 30-year fixed, which is insane, really good. for every 1% change in mortgage rates, you get how many percent in borrowing power?
10.
That's right. That's the rule of thumb.
Yeah.
So talk about that with your clients. Talk about that with your sellers. If they want to buy something, this is a good time to go buy something. But it's really our job. Realtors do a really good job of helping make more transactions happen and kind of unlock when things get locked up. It's when nobody wants to move because the chicken and egg concept. Well, I don't want to sell my house if I can't buy anything, right? So I don't want to put it on the market if there's nothing out there. And if everybody does that, then things they freeze up. So if we're all starting to talk to our people about that, sharing information with each other, putting things out there, that makes the market start moving again, which is good for everybody. So some tools. So pre-listing interview. And so I'll send this out to everybody, but this is just a good reminder that this is a time when you're doing that, when you're talking to people about, especially sometimes you'll meet with people now, they're thinking, all right, they go home for the holidays or they Zoom for the holidays or whatever people are doing. It feels a little bit, kind of nostalgic. You go back to the homestead, you start thinking about, gosh, what if we made a move, interest rates, you hear Uncle what's his face talk about how he just refinanced, it got a crazy low interest rate. And so there's always talk about housing, and calls will start coming in, in the next couple of months and into January. It's really in January, it always ticks up. And people will say, hey, I think I want to buy a house this spring or summer. But chances are when you take them out looking, you meet with them, interview them, take them out looking, they end up doing something in February or March. That being said, now's the time to start talking to them if they own a house, to talk to them about their current house. So this is just a little, I don't like the term script, but it's sort of a guide for going through with a seller a pre-listing interview. What a lot of agents do is when they meet with a seller, especially if it's a past client, they'll show up, they'll say, hey, oh yeah, that sounds great. How about I'll meet you Thursday at 4. And they go there really unprepared just to sort of have a conversation. If you take 10 minutes on the front end and just ask a few key questions, you'll, one, be more professional, you'll look more professional, and you'll really add more value to your clients. So why are you selling? Kind of an important thing. When do you need to move, right? We always sell houses based on time, not just on price. Can you describe your house for me? Especially if you sold them the house 8 or 10 years ago, don't assume it's the same house. I've done that. Go to a listing appointment and you're like, oh, you put on a 2,000 square foot addition. I'm going to put these comps in the trash because that's not your house anymore. So learned my lesson several years ago doing that once. How long have you owned your home? You may know that. What sold you on your home when you bought it? What do you think you're asking for there?
How to sell it this next
Yeah,
time.
it's like the same thing. There's probably going to be the same selling points, right? Have you done any updating since you bought it? If you were to stay here another 5 years, is there anything else you would do to it? That's asking what? What's wrong? It's your potential objections, right? Is there anything, if you were just to stay here another 5 years, I know you're not going to, but if you were, anything you do? Oh, well, we'd redo the kitchen, we'd, replace the HVAC, it's kind of on its last legs. It's like, all right, those are things that are going to come up, so, be prepared for that. Remember, pretend to be a buyer, look through buyer's eyes, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate your house? Most people say a 7, 6, 7, 8. I've got a couple 9s in there, never had a 10. What would it take for your house to be a 10, right? This is just another way of asking them to look at their house objectively so you can find out what other buyers are going to see as a problem with it. Because you have an opportunity, especially if you're talking to them now about a potential spring, summer listing or spring listing of next year, you have an opportunity to work through some of that. It's amazing what you can do. I mean, I've seen a lot of agents do this, but just some freshening up, painting. You can put new countertops in a kitchen in a backsplash for $3,000 and sometimes make it look like a brand new kitchen.
If you can help your client kind of overcome it's like if I were thinking about doing new countertops or painting, be like, oh man, who do I need
overwhelming.
to call?
Yeah, who do I call? What do I pick? Like, go on houzz.com. Great resource for
if you can kind of hold their hand and walk them through that process, even connect them to some resources and vendors to get it done, I think that would really add value.
Huge. Yeah, absolutely. What are you going to be asking for the property? This scares realtors. Well, hold on. I don't know. They're looking to me for that, right? But your sellers they probably have a price in their head, don't they? They've looked at various websites And so they have something in mind. So if you thought about a price you're aiming for. Do you own your property? Do you have a loan? What are 3 things you're looking for in a realtor? Are you interviewing anyone else? Have you considered going for sell by owner? If they have, they have. If they haven't, they haven't. I have no problem with somebody trying to do. If somebody wants to sell a house on their own, like I don't get hurt feelings by that. It's going to be a lot harder for them, and I think we have really valid reasons why we can do a better job and ultimately get them more money and be the advisor on the front end and help them get from point A to point B. Have you sold a property before? Is there anything else I should know about your home? Do you have any questions? And then explain what happens next, right? Talking about next steps. All right, let me meet Thursday at 4. You can run some preliminary comps. You can look at all the different things that they've been looking at online and have a pretty good sense of what we're walking into going forward. So that's good. Don't forget Lolo. If you're not signed up for this, it's $1.10 per gift that you send out, and then they get a free $8 to $10 gift to. These are some recent ones from Nashville. These are some recent ones from Franklin and Brentwood. This is a really cool program, so a lot of people like this. So if you're not taking advantage of that,
I get your gift every month.
I know, I was about to take you off because I was like, I'm spending $1.10 on Hunter.
Keep me on it. I'm loving it.
Okay. Shamed into keeping you on it. All right, tips, real quick. And Realtor Dues reminder, don't forget, do it now before December rolls around, and then you're trying to shop for gifts, and then you get, oh gosh, you got to spend, $500+ on various things. So every single agent has to renew their E&O insurance by the end of December. There is no rolling schedule for that. That is every single agent in the state of Tennessee.
And that'll get you 2 years, right?
That'll get you 2 years, so you can go to Rice, RISCEO.com, and then you can go to GreaterNashvilleRealtors.org to pay your Realtor Dues as well.
How much are we talking for each of those?
You're talking mid-500s for Realtor Dues, plus if you can do an RPAC donation, it's always a good thing to do, even if it's a small amount. And then the Rice is 200.
They're varying level. There are 3 separate levels you can do.
Yeah, 3 separate levels. So the state requires state minimum. I think is $500,000 of is $250 or $500. $250 of.
It costs $250
Yeah,
for.
it's about $250. So, but do it now, and then also blue boxes are going away, replaced with the white ones. You can do that at Greater Nashville Realtors, I think Williamson County Association of Realtors, or Realtrax, which is in between. And then I said this last week, but it's getting dark earlier now, so invest in some of these little solar lights. Light up your sign so that people, especially in walkable neighborhoods, so that people see it. It's a good thing to do. All right, coming soons. Don't forget, enter your coming soons. comingsoon.villagetn.com, and we'll send out that list later today.
I missed the
and the buyer needs too.
Public, our old school.
I know,
sales
discussion
meetings
of it.
and discussion.
Yeah. So
Vaccine's coming. Come on.
bring it. And if you have coming soons or need open house help, try to use the Facebook page for that.
Yeah.
The email list, we try to limit that because some people just don't like, especially the reply alls. So just put that stuff on the Facebook page unless it's a last minute urgent issue that you need help with. But the Facebook page, if you're not looking at that, it's a tremendous resource. So a lot of great resources. So thank y'all. I love the takeaways. I picked up. That's really cool about the Hummer plant and bringing in the that's a huge investment. $2 billion.
To invest $35 million for a $2 billion investment on the other side, pretty good.
Pretty cool. So good work. That was an old slide, so ignore that. That's it. Thank y'all.
Good to see you.